All right. Hey, everyone. I'm here with James Deloney. Hey, James.
Hey, Jennifer.
And he does business with EXP out of Austin, Texas, and surrounding areas. So if you have any deals, send them over to James. But, James, we were talking about the best day to list, and you had some really good comments that I thought we need to make sure everybody heard. So, what do you think?
So I'd like to start with saying that all situations are relative, and
Sure.
it's like the Tom Ferry script. If someone asks you, how's the real estate market? You always reply with the question,
Right.
I'm curious, why do you ask? Are
Or
you
it depends. Are you buying or selling or investing?
exactly, exactly. So be careful. The same thing with sellers. Be careful. You always want to ask, what's your goal in selling?
Hmm.
And I always say to sellers, most of the sellers I work with, getting the absolute most equity out of their home possible and selling for top dollar is their goal. Would you put yourself in that category? And so if that is the goal, if the goal is to sell for top dollar in our market, in the Austin market, super low inventory. We're at 32% less inventory than we were last year at this time.
Wow.
So super competitive market. What I found, and this goes back many, many years of listing, Thursdays are the best day to list. And I can walk you through the strategy behind that.
Yes.
Um, so in our MLS system, listings go out in the middle of the night.
Okay.
And so
Always, like if you put it up right now, it won't actually go live.
so it depends. You can set MLS search alerts to either notify ASAP, which is immediately,
Hmm.
or once per day. So
Okay.
typically, most agents have their buyers set up to be notified once daily. Otherwise, your inbox is just bombarded with
Yeah,
listings.
because it would be like every time one came up, they would get.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the strategy behind Thursday night is that your listing is in the inbox of all the buyers searching in that given market area on Friday morning.
Okay.
And so you're attempting to compress all of your showing activity between the three most trafficked days in a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
And in an ideal world, you can either yourself host an open house one of the weekend days, ideally both. And I will say this, in our market, lots of agents will say open houses don't sell homes. If the goal is to drive as many showings in a 3 or 4 day window as possible, those open houses become critical because buyers agents, especially during summertime, might be on vacation, might have other showing obligations. And so having a window where buyers who, for whatever reason, can't make it with their agent, making the listing available to them to see is pretty
It's
important. And it's
pretty.
amazing.
I would argue too that it you would also want people that aren't necessarily buyers that are just nosy because all the other buyers they don't know that. And so you want the most
Absolutely.
amount of people to create an urgency.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it works. And so
So you just put on there like open house Saturday and Sunday from like 9 to 5, or what are you doing?
typically it's there's a 3 hour window. And
Three
I try and
hours.
get
Okay.
someone, try and have someone do one on Saturday and I'll hold it open on Sunday. In a couple of, so let's back up to listing on Thursday and the conversation to have with sellers. And actually, let me share this with you.
I think I can make you be able
Oh,
to share my screen. Hold on, I'll fix it. Okay.
let's see. Can you see this chart?
No.
Oh, share now.
There you go. I could.
Okay. So let me see
Yes.
if I can get this to full screen. So strategic pricing is also a part of this. And the conversation I have with sellers is that if the goal is to get absolute top dollar for your home, we're going to try and set the market for your neighborhood. The challenge with setting the market for your neighborhood is that we always run up against appraisals. Appraisals are a flawed tool. It's like looking in the rear view mirror while trying to drive, because appraisers can only look backwards in time at sales that have occurred previously. And if
Right.
you're in a market where prices are literally being reset, or top dollar being reset on a
Daily.
weekly basis, daily basis,
Yeah.
there's an inherent challenge with the appraisal process, and the high probability that it could penalize a seller who does everything right. They work with you, you execute the perfect marketing strategy, deliver maximum exposure to the home, generate a competitive bidding situation. The home gets bid up above market value. You price it perfectly, but then it doesn't appraise.
Mm.
Well, guess what happens when you've got multiple offers? In our market, typically you have the benefit of having one, if not more, buyers who are going to raise their hand and say, I both have the resources to make up the difference between the appraised value and the contract price, and I'm willing to put that in writing.
Wow. All right.
We have an appraisal contingency in Texas, and you can either do a partial waiver where you say, for example, on a $500,000 home, you bid 525. The buyer says, as long as it appraises for 500 list price, we'll make up the difference. 25. We've got 25,000 cash to make up the difference.
Wow.
Or in our market, you often see full appraisal waiver where buyers are saying, we don't care what it appraises at, we'll pay the difference. We have the money and we'll make the difference up. So they go in blind, and that's when you're always going to get the highest offers, because there's this crazy thing with cash buyers. They never want to they never want to be the top bid. They think that somehow when that money gets wired into the seller's bank account at the closing, it looks or feels different.
Right, exactly.
All money in your account. Now with the cash offer, obviously appraisals aren't a factor, but when you've got finance deals that on top of that waive the appraisal contingency,
Then that's great. Like that's something to look at for sure, especially like you said, if your cash offers are lower than that, might be worth it.
So that's the strategy behind compressing all of your showings into that.
You're creating your own auction. Do you think that, I assume that strategy's adjusted a little bit. Has it worked more or less in your favor with COVID?
So COVID has decreased the amount of inventory available here. And there was just a brief window when we weren't allowed to show listings. And then our governor ruled that real estate was an essential business.
Mm-hmm.
And once that happened, it was like the spigot turned on. That was in late March, and the showings, and it's been a really, really challenging market for buyers since that time. Because
so what are people doing? Because they're not really, like, how many people are you letting like in the house at once? And we've kind of gotten off topic, but
yeah. So in our market, typically for every 10 showings, you should get an offer. If you've got 10 showings and don't get an offer, it's typically price. And so 20 to 30 showings is average for that first weekend. So you dramatically increase the probability of getting competing offers, because once you get above that 20 offer threshold, there's a good chance you've got more than one. And the beauty of our market is, or any market, it only takes 2 offers to be in a competing offer situation. So another great script for folks, if you've got 2 offers and you get a call from a listing agent saying, are you working any offers? Don't ever give a number unless you've got, like 6, 7 and your seller gives you permission. We're in a competing offer situation.
Right. And that's it. Yeah, that's great. That's good advice. Okay, so let's go. This could be, you could have your own, like, the James show on the podcast, tips from James. But let's go back. Okay, so you're saying Thursday because, well, you'll still get some showings on Thursday because there will still be people that have it set up to come immediately.
This is true. So it depends on if you have a family there, and the family, I typically I try and get sellers to leave Friday morning and come back Sunday evening.
Okay.
Just go stay with the family.
Be gone.
Or go, yeah, just it's way easier for everyone. If you got dogs, you got kids.
Yeah.
So if they can leave Thursday evening, great. If they can't, then you can indicate an MLS that showings begin Friday morning.
Okay.
But if there is if you can make that work, then obviously, yeah, you can get showings on that Thursday. So you've got 4 full days of showing activity.
Perfect. So then so you're setting them up. So then if you're maximizing the traffic, like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you're saying that if you would have listed it on a different day, you would have you think you would have not only gotten less showings, but you would have gotten less offers because you're pulling up the price because of competing?
Yeah, so and this is something to keep in mind, is that buyers become conditioned to see inventory drop on Thursday afternoon and Friday morning. So a lot of buyers aren't planning their week around showing activity or setting up showings with their agent during the week. And so you could conceivably, if you're in a hot market, you're going to get offers any day of the week.
Right.
But you're reducing the probability of competing offers by listing earlier in the week, because there are some agents that aren't even checking their hot sheet,
right,
or buyers that aren't
looking
to listings because they're just expecting we're going to get to see all the new listings over the weekend.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Wednesday, Thursday gal myself, but yeah, it's for the same exact reasons. Like I want to condense it. But for me, I like to do Wednesday because in our market, most people are getting it immediately. They're not getting them at the midnight time. And then we can maximize Thursday, Friday and be done for the weekend so they can get back into their house and live their life on the weekend, you know? And by they, I mean me and them.
So something that's pretty common in our market is, and again, this is something that people get conditioned to, the listings are held through Sunday evening or Monday morning. And so a lot of agents will put in MLS that all offers, but this is the tricky thing about listing on a date other than it going Thursday night. If you get an offer on Friday and time is of the essence, you got a cash offer, $10,000-$15,000 over list, and they request a response or the offer expires, then you're in a difficult situation where
it's tough. And we did the podcast on that. I'm trying to remember. I think it was like a few weeks ago about how should you delay or should you just like accept the offers. It's a difficult thing, but I agree with you. If you're going to delay it, then listing on Thursday makes more sense because then you will have those maximum amount of times and people are okay with waiting because they're used to waiting. Like many businesses are closed on the weekend, so they're used to not getting a response until Monday.
And this is a conversation, if this is a strategy that you're going to employ, you really need to be proactive and set expectations with your sellers,
right?
And get them to commit, because they'll get nervous if they get a really, really good offer.
They'll get super nervous.
Yeah, and so that's where setting expectations becomes really critical. Otherwise, you just create an emotional roller coaster
for yourself to deal with it. Yeah. I feel like real estate, we should all have psychology degrees. Like it's like a prerequisite to getting a license, you know, or psychiatry maybe, then we can prescribe some things.
So this is funny. So actually I have a degree in counseling psychology and I worked as a family and individual therapist for years.
Nice.
And I tell people I do more counseling in this field because people's stuff bubbles up when you get lots of money involved. And just the whole move thing, people's lives are tied to the transactions that we help them with.
Right.
Their stuff comes up.
It does. I mean, you're right. I have an undergrad degree in psychology, but I was never like in the field. But I agree, it's a lot of counseling. Well, that's cool. I appreciate you coming on, James, and kind of explaining. And I'm glad that you're on Team Jen, not Monica. All right. We'll talk to you later. Thanks a
And
lot.
if you ever have anyone that's looking to move to the area, would love to have a conversation about helping and working with referrals.
Perfect. And again, that's Austin, Texas, and other surrounding areas. Just if you're not sure if it's close to Austin, just send it to James and he'll let you know. All right. Thanks,
Yeah.
James.